Mataji, Dandat Pranam. Hare Krishna, Matajis and Prabhujis. Welcome to today's everyday Gita session. And let us take the blessings of Ishkan Sheshadripuram deities here. Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai, Panchatattva ki jai, Vamana Dev ki jai.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can you unmute yourself? Sorry. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्र माई की जय, पंचतत्व की जय, वामनदेव की जय, नरसिंह भगवान की जय, निताय चैतन्य की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरु महाराज की जय. Let us start with our prayers. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्तस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादे पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Welcome devotees. Today we are going to see the shloka number, the 10th chapter, opulence of the absolute, and the shloka number 7, 10.7. Yetam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo veti tattvataha so vikalpena yogena yujyate natra samsayaha. Yetam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo veti tattvataha so vikalpena yogena yujyate natra samsayaha. One who is factually convinced of his opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt. Jai. So, Krishna is describing about his opulences. In yesterday's shloka, he said that the Prajapatis, who are the responsible person for populating this entire universe, is being created by him. The Prajapatis are coming from him. So now in this shloka, he's telling that what will happen to a person who is able to understand, who is convinced about the opulences of Krishna, who knows about his very wonderful opulences. What is going to happen to that person? In the shloka, yo veti tattvataha, one who understands, one who is convinced by the truth. Truth of what? He says here, etam mama vibhutim yogam cha. He is convinced of my opulences, like my opulences, the mystic power, yogam, vibhutim, and yogam, my opulences and the mystic power. So whoever is convinced, whoever knows my opulences, what is happening? So vikalpena yogena yujnate. So what is that person getting here? Such a person who understands, who is by the opulences of the Lord, who is convinced by knowing the opulences and the mystic powers of the Lord. What is he getting? So vikalpena yogena. Such a person is engaged in unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. Then what happens is yujnate. That's what he is engaged in the unalloyed devotional service. Then he is just adding this, Natra samsayaha. There is no doubt in this. So Krishna makes a statement here in this sloka. One who is understanding, one who is convinced and understands the very greatness of the appellants and the mystic power, the appellants vibhutim and the mystic power yogam of the Lord, without any doubt engages in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. So here, this is the result. This is the result. What is the result? Engaging in the unalloyed service of the Lord. That is the result which a person gets by knowing, by getting convinced, by knowing the appearances of the Lord. Sri Krishna. Here we will go in depth in this sloka, what Prabhupada tells in the purports. The highest summit of spiritual perfection is knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless one is firmly convinced of the different appearances of the Supreme Lord, he cannot engage in devotional service. So, here what is the spiritual perfection? One who is like follow, one who is following spirituality and whatever it is, what is the spiritual perfection? So spiritual perfection is not good health, and spiritual perfection is not mystic powers, and spiritual perfection is not knowledge. These are all not the spiritual perfection. Spiritual perfection is to know about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is what is meant by the spiritual perfection. If someone is practicing spirituality, then any path, it does not matter. When someone is practicing spirituality, then if he knows about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we can say that he is going to get the perfection, spiritual perfection, or we can even say that he already is in the he already is in the perfection stage of the spirituality. So knowing the appearances, knowing this Supreme Personality of Godhead, getting to know the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is what is spiritual perfection. That is very, very important. We have to know about the Lord. We have to know about the greatness of the Lord. So that is very, very important. That's what Prabhupada is saying in his purports here. Generally, people know that God is great, but they do not know in detail how God is great. Here are the details. If one knows factually how God is great, then naturally he becomes a surrendered soul and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord. So many times people keep talking, oh God, God is great, but most of them don't know how he is great. So that is what Bhagavad Gita is talking in this chapter here. How God is great, how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is great. So when we understand the greatness of that Supreme Personality, then it becomes very easy for us to surrender. But once when the surrender happens, then automatically practicing devotional service, unalloyed devotional service, automatically gets into the picture. So if we understand, if we realize the greatness, if we realize the appearances of the Lord, which is described here in this sloka, if we understand, if we get convinced, and if we get if we understand more how great Krishna is, then we have to have the mercy of the spiritual master, under the guidance of a pure devotee. When we do this with the mercy of the Lord, then it is easy for us to surrender to the Lord. Then automatically we can do unalloyed devotional service unto the lotus feet of the Lord. And here, surrendering, when you take surrender, surrendering is a very natural phenomenon of every living entity, right? So when do we surrender? We surrender only when we think that personality is something great, when we see something great in him, and when we think that, okay, he can save me and he can protect me, and when we have the trust, we will have the trust when that personality is great. When that happens, automatically surrender comes naturally. That we cannot just like that go and surrender in the world to a person, Tom, Nick, or someone XYZ, right? We wanted to surrender only to the great personality, only to the great personality. That will artificial surrender is something different. When we are surrendering to the great personality, the supreme personality of Godhead, then it is natural, it is natural. When we come to know about his appearances, when we are convinced, then automatically, naturally, we feel that this person is the only worshipable person, this person is the supreme personality. And then automatically the surrender comes when we have the complete faith thing, that this personality is the greatest supreme personality who can save us. That type of faith we will develop when we know about the when we know the greatness of that personality, then automatically surrender happens. There, when one factually knows the appearances of the supreme, there is no alternate but to surrender to him. That's what. When we know the greatness of that person, then automatically we get to surrender to him. This factual knowledge can be known from the description in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and similar literatures. So it is a very important to note that we wanted to understand the greatness of Krishna, how great he is. We have to know that. We cannot simply sit in a chair and then contemplating by ourselves, saying that, oh, maybe he is great in this way, he is great in that way. No, that doesn't work out. It is not at all like that. We have to get the direction, proper direction, from Krishna itself. From Krishna itself. We have to ask Krishna, please tell me how great you are. That's what Krishna has given for us in this sloka. How great he is. What happens when we know, in this chapter especially, what happens when we know about his greatness. Arjuna asked Krishna, Krishna, please speak about your appearances. So Krishna spoke about his appearances in this chapter. So that is how we have to know the greatness. It is not like contemplating ourselves, maybe Krishna is great in this way, this way. No, it doesn't, like, definitely doesn't work out like that. And when we read Bhagavatam, we can we will know Krishna, before subduing Kalia, he was just like dancing. He was dancing on the different hoods of Kalia, Kalinga Nartana. And when we imagine, it is not possible for a normal dancer or anyone to dance on the slippery skin on a snake. It is not at all possible. What Krishna did, he lifted the huge Govardhan mountain, which is currently 22 kilometers in circumference. He just lifted the huge Govardhan mountain, and he did not even take a big effort for that. He lifted with his left hand pinky and holded it for 7 days and 7 nights. What is the effort he has taken in to lift that? Nothing. He just lifted it like that, and with the left hand and the pinky finger, he's just holding it like this, and with the right hand, he's just happily playing his flute, and then glancing at the all the Vrajvasis over there and talking to them. And it is like a feast for 7 days. What feast? It is a feast, just seeing Krishna and Krishna is talking to them. And it is the feast for the eyes of the people under that Govardhan, that is how it was. So these are all not at all, these are all things cannot be done by anyone. So how great Krishna is. So so many demons, he killed so many demons just like this, very easily. And when we see Krishna's opulences, we have to understand very, very properly from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita under the guidance of the pure devotees, spiritual masters. When we understand Krishna in this way, then automatically the surrender comes naturally from our heart. So else, like for baddha jivas who are stuck in this cycle of birth and death, they cannot really understand. They will never be able to understand the greatness of Krishna. It is very difficult for them. Maximum they do is remember something what they watch in TV, or maybe what they read from the newspapers. This is the maximum amount of knowledge they'll be having. With this maximum of knowledge, they will try to pull down Krishna to their platform and try to know his greatness and try to know how great he is. When they are doing that, then they probably might be thinking, oh, Krishna is greater than me, maybe by 2%, maybe by 10%. That is their intelligence. Their intelligence is only that much. Those type of people can never understand Krishna's opulences, can never understand the greatness, the beautiful greatness of Krishna. It is very, very difficult for them. So when we understand how great the Lord is, then surrendering will also be difficult. It will be very, very difficult to surrender once when we don't understand how great Supreme Lord is. Once when we read Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita under the guidance of the pure devotee, that can be, that love, that understanding can be inherited from the pure devotee's heart to the to the person's heart who is hearing, and then we will be in a position to understand the greatness of Krishna. Once when we understand how great Krishna is, then it is very, very easy for us to surrender to Krishna, and then we can practice unalloyed devotional service unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Then, in the administration of this universe, there are many demigods distributed throughout the planetary systems, and the chief gods distributed throughout. Sorry, and the chief of them are Brahma, Lord Shiva, and four great Kumaras and the other patriarchs. There are many forefathers of the population of the universe, and all of them are born of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is the original forefathers and the forefather of all forefathers. So very beautifully it is said here. So all the Devi Devatas, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, everybody, and all the other Devi Devatas are very powerful. They are all taking care of this entire universe. But the origin of all these Devi Devatas is only Krishna. So we should try to comprehend now the greatness of Krishna, how great it is. These great personalities, all these Devi Devatas who are maintaining the whole universe, have come from another greatest personality, and that personality is none other than Krishna. So only that greatest personality is worshipable. So the one and only worshipable Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. It is the very nice analysis given in Bhagavad Gita. So with our tiny brain, like we can at least comprehend this much, how great Krishna is. So here again Prabhupada is concluding this one by saying, when one is firmly convinced of them, he accepts Krishna with great faith and without any doubt, and he engages in devotional service. One should not neglect to understand fully how great he is, Krishna is. For by knowing the greatness of Krishna, one will be able to be fixed in sincere devotional service. So, more we try to know about Krishna, more we try to know about, understand, and get convinced about Krishna's opulence and the greatness of Krishna, then there is more chances for us to surrender to him. It is like the probability, tossing a coin. When we toss a coin, the more chances of getting a head or a tail, whatever we think. So it's something like that. More we try to understand Krishna's greatness, it's more chances for us to surrender to him. It's a natural tendency. Already we discussed, it's a natural tendency for a human being to surrender. When are we surrendering? Only when we get convinced that that personality is supreme, that personality is really great, then it is an automatic natural tendency for us to surrender. Here, when someone understands Krishna's greatness, therefore, and when we know his opulences, when we get convinced about his greatness, then automatically we will feel no fear in our heart, and there will not be any anxiety, and then we will feel that this is the personality who can protect us. Then naturally, taking shelter unto the lotus of Krishna will automatically happen. Once when these two falls in place, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna is definite. That's why Krishna is promising here, right in the shloka, in the last line of this shloka, he says, Natra samsayaha, there is no doubt in this unalloyed devotional service to his lotus feet is for sure. When does it happen? When you surrender. And when does that surrender happen? When you know, when you understand the greatness of the supreme personality of Godhead. So Krishna, after speaking about all the opulences and the results of knowing, now he is going to speak four very important verses. They are called Chatur Shloki Bhagavad Gita. So this four verses are summarizing the whole Bhagavad Gita into that four verse. Those four verses we will see from the next Bhagavad Gita class. Tomorrow we'll be having Bhagavatam class. So probably on Sunday, yeah, we will be seeing those four important verses. Thank you, Matajis and Prabhujis. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Any doubts and comments, please welcome Mataji. Thank you for attending today's session. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna,
Dandavat
Mataji.
Pranam.